Our next storyteller is Janel Bem, who comes from a town near Venice, Florida. Um, Janelle has a very interesting job. She is a resident storyteller at a resort. She tells for all of their bonfires, and once a month she does a program for them. That's pretty cool. I had never heard of a resident storyteller. I'm happy to hear that we're doing different things with this art. There were three things that she did during COVID. For one, she started doing jigsaw puzzles. She said she was doing them a little bit, but then she started ratcheting it up and she started doing a whole bunch of them. For two, she said that she discovered zip-up pants, or rediscovered zip-up pants. So I had to ask, what do you mean? She said, COVID, you didn't go anywhere, you walked around the house in your sweats all the time, and now we're going out a little bit, got to put on those zip-up pants and a belt. And the third thing she did is she got very creative, and I think it's wonderful. She decided to start visiting guilds around the country, storytelling guilds around the country via Zoom. So she's a member of about 4 different guilds around the country, and her favorite guild is the North Carolina Storytelling Guild. And she said she was thrilled when we invited her to be part of this festival because she was looking forward to seeing all the people that she had met shoulders down. Well, let's welcome Janel Bem, shoulders down and shoulders up.
Thank you, Linda. The doctor asked us if we had any questions. Now, we were there for my dad's annual routine physical. And because my dad is 83 years old and has severe dementia, I answered first. No, I don't have any questions. Dad, do you have any questions? No. And so I thanked the doctor and loaded Dad back into the car, and we started the drive back to the nursing home where he lives. And about halfway back, oh, what, Dad? What's the matter? Oh, I wanted to ask the doctor, but I forgot. What? You can ask me, and I'll ask the doctor for you. How come sometimes I don't know who you are? Dad, well, that's all just part of this. Do you know who I am now? Well, yeah, I'm not stupid. And he's right. He's not stupid. This is the man who, in an homage to his Navy days, taught my brother and I how to tie a bowline knot behind our backs. This is the man who taught me how to play chess, and not just how the pieces move, but how to coordinate them strategically so as to oppress my opponent. This is the man who taught me how to balance my checkbook. And then he used that as a metaphor to teach me how to live a balanced life. No, he's not stupid. But the dementia has taken from him what he once gave to me. My dad was born in 1938, and he was a twin. No one really knows this part of the story, but for whatever reason, their father decided that he did not want to be a dad. And so not long after my dad and his brother were born, their father left. And not too long after that, their mother decided that she did not want to be a single mom to twin boys. And so she gave my dad and his brother to the state. And from there, they were raised in a series of orphanages and foster families. And most of those foster families lived on farms. And when Dad and his brother were there, they were treated more like indentured servants than like sons. And when I got children of my own, I wondered, how? How did a man raised in orphanages and foster families, how did he learn, with no real father figure of his own, how not to be just a father, but a dad? And a really great dad. First to my brother, and then 4 years later to me. When I was 19 years old, I came home for summer vacation. I had just finished my freshman year at the Ohio State University. And during that year, I had taken a class in tennis, and I fell in love with it. I watched tennis all the time on TV. I read books about it. I took more classes. I played every single chance I got, and I got kind of good at it. And when I came home for the summer, I did what teenagers will occasionally do. I complained. I'm so bored. There's no one here to play tennis with. Well, I'll play with you. Dad, you don't know how to play tennis. You don't even own a tennis racket. Well, I'll get one. And he did. He went out to Kmart and he bought a $5 racket. And the next night after supper, we hopped on our bicycles and we rode down to the city park to play on the courts there. Now, there was my dad in his Velcro closure tennis shoes that he'd bought at a garage sale, his cut-off jean shorts, and his $5 tennis racket. And there I was in my Adidas court shoes, my cute tennis skirt, and my $40 Chris Everett racket that I had bought at the sporting goods department of Sears with my birthday money. I was pretty sure that a massacre was about to ensue. And I was right. Dad killed me. He had me running around that court like a caffeine addict looking for their car keys. And he beat me in straight sets. It was so bad. The next night, I demanded a rematch. But the same thing happened. And the night after that, and the night after that, and the night after that. We played tennis after supper nearly every night that entire summer. And the only 2 times I ever won was the night when it was super hot and Dad had had seconds at supper, and the night when he was super tired from his job that day at the spark plug factory. And my 19-year-old self was so consumed with trying to figure out how to beat this man that I never asked the obvious question. How? How did a man raised in foster families and orphanages with farm work as his only real physical activity, how did he learn to play tennis? I didn't ask him then, and his dementia won't let him tell me now. That afternoon, as we drove home from the doctor's in the car, when my dad shared with me that sometimes now, as he approaches the end of his life, he doesn't know who I am, it occurred to me in that moment that my whole life, I've never really known who he was. Dad and I don't play tennis anymore. We are engaged in a 3D reality game called life. And the rules seem to be constantly changing, and no one can tell us how long we have to play or how this game will end. But one thing I can tell you, no matter how long we play or how this game ends, the score will always be love, love. All my life, I wanted a nickname. There are lots of nicknames in my family, common ones like Jim for James and Judy for Judith and Kathy for Kathleen. And there are a few more obscure nicknames, like my brother Jim, who already had a nickname, who we always called Toby, and my cousin Jerry, who we always called Skeeter, and my Aunt Marcella, who everyone in the family always called Aunt Hoodie. I don't know why. I wanted a nickname so bad, I tried to give myself one. I had people call me Jay, and then I went through a phase where I tried to have them call me Skippy, and none of those two took. But the one nickname I was sure I did not want was Nellie. My name is Janel. You can see how people would get there. But on the street where I lived, there was this old woman, and her name was Nellie. She was like 104 years old. She had those white support stockings, and her ankles spilled over the tops of her shoes. And every summer, she had the blacktop on her driveway redone. And if we rode our bikes on that, she would chase us with her cane and yell and scream, no, 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 no. I did not want to be called Nellie. Well, the years passed. No nickname took, even though I still longed for one. And I kind of gave up on it until I met my husband, Dennis. And he came complete with 3 children from his first marriage, Greg, Patrick, and Kelly. Now the kids were 14, 10, and 8 when I first met them, and right away we had a problem. What were they going to call me? Well, they couldn't and shouldn't call me Mom. They already had a mom, a really good mom. And stepmother, that's more like a place marker or a title. It's not really a name, is it? I invited them to call me by my first name, Janel. But that felt really, really awkward to them because all of the adults in their life were Mom, Dad, Grandma, Grandpa, or Mr. and Mrs. They had been drilled never to call an adult by their first name. And so, for the first year that we knew each other, they pretty much just didn't call me anything. Now, that is not to say that they gave me the cold shoulder. No, quite the opposite. We had a great time together. We played their favorite games, and then we invented games of our own. We had adventures. We sat around the campfire in the backyard and told stories late into the night. And that year passed, and it came time for summer vacation. We were going to get the kids for 2 weeks straight, and I was stoked. So we decided to do a family road trip, and our first stop was the outdoor drama in southern Ohio called Tecumseh. Now, Tecumseh is a professional production, beautifully done. It's a play about the first people of Ohio and their very famous leader, Tecumseh. We took the kids in a camper and we parked the camper at a campground not far from the outdoor drama. And when we had set everything up, we piled everybody in our Chevy Suburban and drove them over to the amphitheater. This is a beautiful amphitheater, 1,500 seats. And our seats were right in the middle, third row from the front. Perfect. Got everybody seated, and I had what you call a parental moment. I told the kids, now, we are not at home in the living room watching a DVD. If you have any questions, we have to hold those questions until the end of the show. We're not going to talk and distract the actors. If you got to go to the bathroom, hold it. We'll go at intermission. There'll be no getting up and moving during the show. Understood? Everybody shook their head. The play began. It was awesome. Real live horses, everything. Intermission came. We went to the bathroom as promised. Came back. Now the second half goes, and by now it's dark. And there's a beautiful starry sky, and now it's almost the end of this play, and Tecumseh is on the stage by himself, and he is lamenting the loss of his people and their land and their culture. And I was moved, and I leaned forward in my seat, and a bug the size of a golf ball hit the side of my head. Instinct took over before I could help myself. I leaped up and I started screaming, "Ah!" My husband's arm reached over the heads of the children, grabbed the back of my shirt, pulled me back down into the seat. And the 1,400 people behind us got a show they were not expecting. When the play was over, all 5 of us walked back to the car in silence. Dennis in disbelief at his new wife. Me in shame. The kids trying not to snicker. Finally, Patrick, the 10-year-old, couldn't take it any longer, and he said, "It landed on me first. But you told us to be quiet." So I elbowed Greg, and I was like, "What?" He looked and said, "Flick it off." So I flicked it off. But you leaned forward. I'm so sorry. I lost it right there in the parking lot. Laughed so hard. The kids started laughing. Even Dennis chuckled a bit. We dissolved in a puddle of laughter right there, gasping for breath, snorting. And Greg, the 14-year-old, said, "Well, that was a truly Nellie moment." What? I thought to myself, have I ever told them how much I hate that name? It seemed like we're all having a good time. Is he trying to be mean? I don't get it. So I decided to just stay in this moment, and I would table that question for another day. But it didn't have to wait long, because the next day at the campground, I offered to take the kids swimming for the afternoon, kind of a little peace offering for Dennis. And so while Dennis stayed at the campsite, the kids and I went to the pool at the campground, and we were swimming and having a good time and doing those, hand squirt guns that you do and stuff. And we started to attract some stray children who came over to play with us. And after a little while, this one little boy turned to Greg, and he said, "Is that your mom?" And Greg said, "Nope." "Is that your sister?" "Nope." "Is that your babysitter?" "Nope." "Who is that?" And Greg said, "That's our Nellie." Huh? You don't know what a Nellie is? No. Patrick chimed in. Well, you know, a Nellie is that person in the family who makes sure you have fun and plays games with you and thinks up weird things to do, and who you can talk to when you want to talk to an adult, but maybe not your parents. Kelly, the 8-year-old, put her 2 cents in. You don't have a Nellie? No. Well, then I feel sorry for you. And that little boy swam off, heartbroken at the loss of something he never knew he needed. And Greg's words from the night before came back to me. That was a truly Nellie moment. And I realized that those 3 kids had solved that awkwardness of what to call me by inventing their own name. And in a moment, the name I never, ever, ever wanted to be called became the sweetest name I've ever heard. Thank you, folks.